Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Happy Monday to you, and you had a wonderful weekend. Taking a quick look again at SUI. I'm just going to quickly dive into the charts here. We're still seeing a bearish divergence for SUI, but a potential shift in momentum with that bullish backtest of that descending trend line. This could even be a very large bull flag. My guess is probably not, but generally speaking, people will reach and try to look at all sorts of different patterns to convince themselves to take a long or a short. That's not why we're here. We're here to kind of talk a little bit more about the logical side of trading and hopefully identify some trends or potential reversal patterns here. Now, Bitcoin, pulling back as expected, holding its 67.5 range for the moment. It's actually just barely retesting that level. So if we do lose that, we could see a drop from SUI. All right. I'm glad we closed our trade out yesterday. Unfortunately, we had to close out in the red. Of course, it was one of our only losses from last month. Well, not only losses. We took we think it was what, four? Yeah, we took 4 losses and a handful of wins there. But either way, I'm bringing this up because SUI has been kind of a rough one, honestly. It can be difficult to anticipate. It's been giving a lot of false positives. So just friendly advice when you're trading this coin, make sure you use low leverage, low position size, and try not to get too crazy, because the larger the position size, the greater the benefit, but also greater the potential problems too. Okay, so this just coming from somebody that's been analyzing charts for over 20 years, and SUI is one of those unique ones that has a tendency of being fairly inconsistent. All right, so just kind of throwing it out there. That is kind of the case. Now, quickly to note, I do want to say congrats to our community here for some nice profits from a Solana short and ICP short. Also a near protocol short too. It was a profitable weekend for us, even though we did have to close out our SUI long in the red. So what do we look at here? Well, details are in, what is it? A devil's in the details? Is that what I'm looking for? If we look in the back end here, this is kind of an area of, well, I wouldn't say support, but we're not really in a crazy liquidation range. In other words, there's a decent chunk above and below the price action, but nothing immediate. Obviously, we could zoom in and find that, but the truth is here, there's not a whole heck of a lot. In fact, why don't we just, for the sake of it, look at the 12-hour and see where the actual concentration is. We are closer to this 180 mark. So people are basically in long positions from over the weekend, and about 180 is a close approximate. So the price does end up sweeping any extra area of liquidation. 180 would seem like a sensible place. We can see here the delta is pretty high for shorts. Now, again, I'm a firm believer in what goes up must come down, or in this case, what goes down must come up. We have too many shorts in the market with Bitcoin, Solana, handful of larger cap coins. So if we look at this here, Bitcoin, for example, heavy amount of short liquidation, upwards of about 8 billion. That has to slow down or stop. It's either the shorts taken profit, which seems unlikely at this point, or we get a squeeze back to the upside. So that does imply that SUI could recover here soon, just based on being overextended to one side. Now again, you don't trade on overextension, but it is still a factor. Having said that, though, we can see $2, that heavy concentration of open interest. That's the most amount of accumulation. In fact, that's roughly where we took our long. The price action broke out above the cloud on the hourly, and unfortunately, everything else just continued lower with Bitcoin over the weekend. So that's just kind of how it goes, folks, sometimes. And again, trying to identify coins that are moving separate from Bitcoin is a good start. And again, there are some coins here, very few of them, but there are some coins that are doing well. Dogecoin for one of those. I'll cover that here shortly. In fact, I'm pretty interested in a position with that one, just based on how well it's performing. But the truth is, so SUI is performing very concurrent in a lot of ways with Bitcoin. Take a look at this chart. That is an ugly chart, and very similar here. However, as you can see, SUI recovers quickly when it wants to, right? So again, we get these massive pumps and then pretty significant bleed outs too. So just know this coin, as awesome as it is, absolutely susceptible to Bitcoin manipulation. So having said all that, where are we at right now? Well, we're over the 50-day SMA, but the 20 is kind of holding like a champ here. So if we look at this, this is basically just a bit of a trend. Until we close above the 20-day SMA, I would say probably not worthwhile taking it long. That's generally the concept. And again, it's not the only thing you want to trade on, but I really think the 20-day SMA is a really good indicator on most timeframes of what the initial trend is. Okay, and if you're above it, longs. If you're below it, shorts. That's kind of the almost the best way to interpret it. Having said that, we're below it. We want to wait for a closure. I would say at 195 or higher. I would say a better estimate would be $2, considering how much open interest we have there. It's an area of consideration for a long Granted, we essentially confirm and close above that too. You don't just take a long right as soon as we hit $2. That's just not what you do. Having said that, though, we are right at 50 on the RSI. Stochastic swinging down. Money flow index is lower. These are generally unfavorable signs. Pretty much everything here is unfavorable, minus the 50-day SMA and all the other moving averages below us. So you got to keep in mind this coin is doing pretty well in the overall sense, but just based on how Bitcoin's pulling back and how well it's paired with it, we can expect it to continue lower if Bitcoin does. I would say it would be likely to bounce, which we had this recent support level, which hasn't really proven to hold very well. This 0.5 fib at $1.87. We need to close over 187 at the very least today. Okay, Bitcoin's not looking like that's it's wanting for that to happen, and Bitcoin absolutely looks like it wants to have a bad day here. So that's kind of what's going on. Once more, once Bitcoin finds its bottom, I think SUI will be more likely to catapult back to the upside. And if we take a look here, of course, this is tentative for the moment, but we are tentatively establishing higher lows. So, unless we close at 184 or lower today, we still have a decent chance at recovering if Bitcoin can just kind of successfully remove its head from its ass. That's kind of the term that I use to describe Bitcoin right now. It makes sense it's bearishly diverging because of all the profit that needs to be taken. We had some significant fair value gaps as low as 67K. We're seeing that now, but anything further lower than 67,000, I think 65 or 63K would be the next couple of stops there. Again, that's just strictly hypothetical. I would say that with tomorrow, the US election in place, a lot of things are going to hinge on that. So it's probably best to limit your amount of trades leading into that just to be on the safe side. Okay, 4-hour time frame. Take a look here. We can see we're still under 50 on the RSI until we really close above that for a few candles. There's no real consideration for long, but it is increasing. We're essentially seeing higher highs and higher lows. It's running concurrent with the chart, so that's pretty standard. MACD is trying to converge, but hasn't yet. We're below every single moving average. That's generally a bearish type of divergence. So again, a closure above $2 would be a solid consideration for a long. Between now and then, I wouldn't recommend taking a long, even though I'm sure by the time you see this video, the price will be at $2 plus, because that's just how SUI is. Has a tendency of running pretty hard and pretty fast. But between now and then, this is kind of like no man's land. You do not want to try to take a long into all that resistance. It's just kind of you're more likely to find less success doing so, right? So that's kind of the consensus there. Hourly time frame, Ichimoku cloud, let's confirm here we're still below the cloud or within, also construed as a no buy zone. Closing above the cloud, different story. That puts us at about 190 or higher. So I'd say at the very least, closing at 190 or higher today is a minimum, a bare minimum to consider a long position with this coin. Lagging span is still kind of within the price action, conversion line, baseline are intersecting. There's nothing really here telling us a long position is viable. But if you do see 190 or higher and you insist on taking a trade, that would be a better confirming factor than closing below it, okay? But I'm not by any means telling you to take a long from 190 to $2. Just know that $2 is at resistance level and 190 would be a very mild confirming factor for us. A lot of this really just hinges on if Bitcoin can again successfully remove its head from its ass here. If we lose this level at 67.5, close below 67.5 today, I think Bitcoin could have a propensity to continue a lot lower. We've lost our ascending trend line. The macro is looking worse and worse for Bitcoin. It's not terrible, but it's certainly not looking good. Bitcoin needs to move soon if it's going to have any luck to continue higher. Okay. So again, a lot of this hinges on the success of the presidential candidacy tomorrow here for the U.S. So that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, there's so many different theories out there. It's hard to say what's right. But the truth is SUI is mostly parallel or concurrent with Bitcoin for the moment. And I think that we're just not in great shape to consider a long. I don't necessarily recommend a short, but you are going to have statistically a larger probability of success going down than up with this coin. Just make sure you watch it close, and whatever you do, low position size, low leverage. Like for example, these trades that we took here, 35%, 40%, 47%, near ICP and Solana. Those were trades that we took with 5x leverage. Okay, I never go over 5x for altcoins, never over 10x for Bitcoin. So just some friendly advice. Careful with leverage. People get destroyed by using it incorrectly, and it's like one of those. It's like being a superhero and abusing your power, right? It's going to bite you in the ass eventually. So just be good. That's all there is to it. And don't be crazy. All right. That's all we got here, folks. Thanks again so much for watching. I hope you learned something today. Oh, sorry. Last but not least, make sure you take advantage of this exclusive offer from Bitunix, folks. nice volume reward. So we got $60,000 prize pool potential. We're up to 6,000 and it's increasing as the volume does too. It's a pretty cool thing. So click the link down below, you'll be able to see that. And if you're if you registered with my link in the past, you're automatically eligible. If you want to consider doing so moving forward, links down below for that. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks again so much for your time. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.